Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. This is where we take a fresh look at ourselves and the world around us. And with your life experiences, with your help, with your takes on the topics that we put forth, we just know we're going to learn something, we're going to grow, we're going to have a better perspective, we're going to walk away a little bit changed, a little bit closer to God. And you do not have to be Catholic to call in. If you're listening to Take Two, if you hear the sound of our voices, we consider you part of the family. So Jerry will introduce the topic. We'll give you the phone number. You fill up the phone lines. You know how it's done. You've been doing it for almost 6 years. And we'll have a very, very good discussion. Hello, Jerry. Happy Monday to you.
Hey, happy Monday. Happy first day of the Station of the Cross Fund Drive. And maybe there's some others going on around the country as well.
Yeah, and they're you know, the interesting thing I've been hearing about the others that are going on around the country is that the goals are being met, people are donating, they're loving their Catholic radio station, they're sharing their prayer intentions, and it's so beautiful. So if your local listening area, your local Catholic radio station comes to you and says it's pledge drive time, we need to raise the necessary funds, please think big, go big, give generously, make a pledge, and don't forget EWTN as well. It works. Catholic radio works. It works in the hearts and minds and souls of others, and that's ministry in action.
Well, ask yourself, what has it meant to you to listen to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, or Women of Grace with John L. Williams, Catholic Answers Live, Open Line, all of the great programs. You know, if you derive anything from it, then please do give back, because they're all nonprofit, listener supported. Like Debbie said, EWTN provides the programming for many of the stations, so support them, please, generously, and then your local station or affiliate, so that they can stay on the air in these times that we're living in, where we need it very, very badly.
Speaking of these times, we're asking the question, are you worn out, tired, maybe even exhausted from the last year? Are you? Are you just like plain just, dragging? It's kind of tearing me down, chipping away at me, right? And you're just feeling, ever so, like you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, it's like Groundhog Day. It just keeps happening the same day over and over again, right? And it really wears you out. We want to hear from you. Has this been a really rough year on you? Okay, we want to talk about it. 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. If you're exhausted, tired, especially from this last year, call us.
I can kind of tie the two together. Being tired and feeling worn out and stressed from COVID. The feeling that I identify with is what I used to when I would do back-to-back pledge drives. And then I'd finally go home, maybe after several weeks of being on the road. And you know this feeling, Debbie, it's like deep within inside you. You're just tired. Your soul is tired. Your body is tired. Your mind is tired. That's what we're talking about today. If you fit into that category, call and let's talk a little bit about it, how maybe you can bounce back from that. 833-288-3986 is the number. 833-288-EWTN.
Maybe this feeling of being tired or worn out has gone on for a long time in your life, like maybe like the past 10 years or 15 years or something of that nature. It doesn't have to just be COVID specific, but we're mainly talking about that because we know that all of us, we really were pushed to the limit of just... let's face it, every day we'd turn on the TV and there would be more deaths and more tests positive and more problems at the hospitals and not enough, supplies and stuff like that. And then we'd hear all the stories of what it means for us in our communities. And it was a lot. It was a lot to handle, a lot of information, a lot of stuff to process. And it never ended. It just it just seemed to get worse and worse, and it just grew darker, right? It grew darker, and then we'd see little glimmers of light, right? And then it would get dark again. It was a tough year for so many of us, and it took a toll. So let's talk about it. 833-288-3986. Can you tell it took a toll on me? I lost a ton of sleep this past year.
Oh, yeah?
I love sleeping. I love sleeping. I love a good night's rest. And I don't think I've had a good night's rest since March of last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. I'm up down. It's just, it's like this, kind of like a sense that something bad's going to happen. And so now you know how you can't really rest well, or, and that's just, it's just that feeling I felt ever since we were, put on lockdown.
Well, call in and share with us how this past year has been for you in that regard. Are you weary, just kind of really hoping and praying and asking God that things would open up more and somewhat return to quote-unquote normal? Maybe you're concerned that we're never going to go back to anything that was even like normal life before the pandemic. Maybe you're someone who you weren't happy about the pandemic, but maybe personally for you, it sparked some new energy within you. You found creative ways to be Christ to other people. So maybe even in the midst of all of the trials and difficulties and the challenges, maybe you were invigorated by certain aspects of the last year. We'd love to hear about that as well at 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986.
And I talked to a bunch of servers at this restaurant that's right around the corner from our home, and I asked them how does it feel? What is it like wearing the mask all day long for an 8-hour shift? And they said that's wearing them out. They're exhausted. They're having trouble breathing. It's making their face, they're getting problems with their skin on their face. And it's a lot. And I don't know if we think about that. Like if you can't take your mask down at all for 8 hours, that's a lot. And what about kids in school? They've got their masks on, and that can really be difficult for them as well. I know that even just walking around with the mask at a store, it tuckers you out.
Yeah, it does. And if we have any listeners today, members of the Take Two family, maybe you are a healthcare worker, a doctor, a nurse, a first responder, somebody who really, you've been out there. You have been out there, and we hear so many stories of people like that who just get to a certain point where it really is truly just weighing on them and exhausting them and wearying them. So we don't want this to be a downer. We want to have an upbeat conversation, and see how we can come away a little bit better, a little bit changed, a little bit closer to God. 833-288-3986. Your calls are next.
My niece asked why we are not taught about Lilith.
Because she's not in the Bible. That's why, If I come out with the David Anders version of the Old Testament, and I put, Gandalf into chapter 2 of the book of Genesis, right?
And you'd be tempted to do that,
I really would.
Called to Communion with Dr. David Anders this afternoon, 2 Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Check out EWTN's official YouTube channel.
Just follow the link on our homepage at EWTN.com or go to YouTube.com/EWTN.
Watch EWTN's live shows or today's homily from the Daily Mass.
Click the upload button to see our most recent clips.
You can also find all of EWTN YouTube content by clicking the playlist button.
It's all on the official EWTN YouTube channel at YouTube.com/EWTN.
Visit today.
Have you become a member of the Inspired by Faith Book and Fellowship Club yet? It's part of our ministry, and it's free to join. Just log on to standtalltoday.com and click on the Book Club tab at the top of the page. You'll be joining over 300 other avid readers who come together at the end of each month for a Facebook chat about that month's book, selected by our facilitator, Gigi. Come on in. Go to standtalltoday.com and sign up by clicking the Book Club tab. We look forward to having you with us.
Asking you on Take Two, are you worn out, tired, maybe even exhausted from the last year? If the answer is yes, no, or somewhere in between, call in 833-288-3986. That's the number to be on the air. in the discussion. You'll get to talk to Ryan. He is on the phones. He is awesome to talk to. He'll chat with you a few minutes. You'll get to listen live. He'll put you on hold. You get to listen live, and you'll just seamlessly come into the conversation. But Jerry, before we go to the phones, I just want to share. You know how much I love Church Pop. And Church Pop is so cool. And it comes into your inbox like at 4 a.m. And I Facebook share almost all the articles from Church Pop. And let me just give you an example, folks, of Church Pop, some of the highlights of their great articles and videos. Little known facts about St. Thomas Aquinas, all about the angelic doctor of the Catholic Church. That's one of the titles. The heavenly benefits of the scapular, explained by this Dominican priest. That's another title, one of their highlights for the week. 5 amazingly gifted saints you didn't know wrote poetry. I love it. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
And where do you find them? Is it churchpop.com? I don't see it.
Churchpop.com, yeah.
Yep. I just want to make sure I didn't see it on my screen. Churchpop.com. It's a service from EWTN, and it's wonderful. I love it. Don't you love Church Pop?
I do. Always there's some serious stories, some little lighter stories. There's some puzzles and games and all kinds of things, videos and stuff on there. So, yeah, churchpop.com. You can go there. I think you can go there and actually subscribe and get it emailed to your inbox every day.
Yeah. It's great. EWTN's got you covered. All sorts of things that's going on, and it's so great. The resources are fabulous. Okay, so we're going to go to the phones, but before we do, Jerry, we have 2 open phone lines. I cannot believe it, but it is a Monday. I'll give you that. You guys are probably, got your to-do list and all the work that you've got to take care of. But we do have 2 open phone lines, which means you'll get right in, talk to Ryan. So please don't be too tired to call. Okay? Don't be too tired to call. 833-288-3986.
Okay, Trish is up first in Buffalo, listening on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Trish. Welcome to Take 2.
Hi, guys. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Hi, Trish.
This is a topic. It's so funny. I try really hard not to talk about this every day with everyone in my life, but I really do. And I just feel like I am exhausted. And when Debbie started talking about this, when the show started, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to call. Because I'm just exhausted. I'm sick of hearing about it every day. I'm sick of and I've had many conversations. Sorry, my son's in the back. He's loud. I've had many conversations with family members and friends. I'm just like, I just don't want to I don't want to hear about it anymore. I don't want to hear about who's testing positive. I don't want to hear about who's in the hospital. I don't want to do this and that. And then it's like, well, just get off of social media. It doesn't matter. It's still in my face. Everywhere I go, people wearing masks, people, if I'm not wearing my mask, I am one of the ones that do not like to wear my mask anywhere. So then I get yelled at, and I guess I just feel like I don't understand where, the longevity of it is, I guess. Okay, so we've been doing this for a year, so how do I proceed with my family, with my kids? I have 3 young kids. My youngest is 4, and he has to wear a mask in preschool, and then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to deal with it until I determine that it's okay, but here we are a year later, he's still doing it, and I'm like, what do I do? Do I start saying it's not good for him, but some people think it's good for him? You know what I mean? So I feel like I just have so many conflicting thoughts, and I also have found out, too, it's really made me, educate myself more about our government, about my representatives in my area, about what things they are voting for, what the bills are in the Senate in New York State, vaccines, educated myself on vaccines. Once this COVID vaccine came out, I've been reading about that, and I feel like that's a lot of positive that has come out of it, that I've really become more informed and really specifically searching out instead of just seeing it on the news and just accepting it as it is, actually doing my own research, doing a lot of things understanding that everyone does not feel the same way that I do, so that's okay. And just trying to navigate that through family and friends, and I don't know. And
right.
I guess, just all of that. I think 2020 specifically, it really taught me, I don't want to say who I can trust, because I know that I can trust a lot of people in my circle, and I don't even want to say that people are smart, not smart, whatever, but I feel like a lot of people that I thought would feel the same as me do not. And that's been like something that's been interesting that I've had to navigate. I don't know, that's the best way I can say it. I don't know how else to say it other than that. And right. I guess I feel like we're just all really divided, and they're like, oh, we're all in this together, but we're really not. Yeah, we're all in it together because we're all going through it, but the country just continues, the world just continues to be divided more and more, and it's just sad. I'm just sad, I guess. Mostly when I think about it, and now I'm like starting to tear up. When I think about it, I just get sad about it, I guess.
Well, it is saddening in many ways, because we think back to even just before the pandemic, and then we think back, a generation before that, and some of us, think back 2 or 3 generations, life in the, the 50s and the 60s. Of course, things got, rowdy along the way, but we've never really had anything quite like this. And so I think times like these bring out the best and the worst in people. You made a good point. You said you're finding out who you can believe, who you can trust. Doesn't mean you can't trust, everybody to a certain extent. But one of the things you said, Trish, I think is key here, and that is not knowing the outcome. All right, we're told things are getting better, things are opening up, and then you hear this part of the world, this part of the country, more spikes, more different strains. It almost seems like the temptation is to think this is just going to go on and on and on for our whole lifetime sometimes.
Well, Trish, I share that same sentiment about this idea of that, if I work best personally, if somebody gives me a timeline and tells me, what I can do, what I can't do, I work within those, ground rules or guidelines, and I do really well. I don't do well when everything moves constantly, up, down, it changes. It changes like, just with a whim or with some political thing that's happening or something like that. But I wanted to just tap in on something you said where you said, when you said, and it sounded like your son was kind of sick of it as well, because he was in the background chiming in, which I thought was so sweet.
My 3-year-old, yeah.
What's his name, Trish?
His name is Oliver, and his birthday is actually today. He turned 3 today.
Oh, Oliver, happy birthday. Well, that is beautiful. Happy birthday, sweetheart. Oliver.
Thank you.
That's beautiful. But Trish, I just wanted to clarify something that you said, because I don't want it to be taken, differently from our listeners. Okay. You made the comment, like you're tired of hearing all the tests positive every single day and, the things that are happening and what's going on in hospitals. It doesn't mean that you're insensitive and you don't care about other people and that. The problem with, in my personal humble opinion, with this whole, the way it's been covered, COVID has been covered by the media. It's so much that it's just bombarding our brains, and it's changing the way, it's changing the way we look at each other and things, and we're starting to question everything, and it's so much. It's just we're being overstimulated, in a not so good way, right? And so it's not that you don't care. Exactly. You care about other souls. You care about people. I'm sure you're praying for people, and when you hear about deaths, you're praying for their souls. Absolutely. And it doesn't mean that there's any type of insensitivity. What it means is, I think the media, in my personal opinion, they really have not done a comprehensive, solid, truthful delivery of what this all means for us. And I think they aren't even getting maybe all the truth from the top down. So it's a mess. It's a mess on so many levels. So I share with you that portion of it, Trish. What do you think, Jerry?
I concur with everything that you said, and I think you're right. It's just they keep moving the goalposts, so to speak, so not knowing where things are going to go, where they're going to end up. There are silver linings. There are glimmers of hope. Even the state of California, I think, is due to open up fully on June 15th. Our diocese is going to be opening up more as well. So we just need to continue that. I pray that these trends in this direction continues. Hopefully it will, because, if it goes on for another year, another 5 years, it's really going to cause a lot of people to be very not only tired, exhausted, burned out, but depressed and anxious and all of that stuff. So thank you, Trish. Go ahead, Deb.
Thank you, Trish. Well, and to your point, Jerry, because you live in California, okay, the news we got here in Arizona is that, because your governor is being recalled, right, and the petition's going through, and now there's all these people stepping up wanting to run for that position. Now, all of a sudden, your governor is opening up the state. Before, he was closing the state. Now he's opening up the state. And then so they're trying to tie it to, well, is he opening up the state because that's going to win him to be more popular with the citizens there. So, it's that's what I mean, that it's really strange. Is this really based in science, or is some of it science and politically mixed? I mean, what is it? And just give us the truth. I think we can handle the truth. Or in that movie, they say you can't handle the truth. What's that movie? Few Good Men?
Few Good Men, yeah. I would say this. I would say it does. I don't know how much it matters to me what the motive is here. I just want to see things open up again. I'm just kind of anxious to go sit in a restaurant and have somebody, bring me a meal, and, if I have to wear a mask, I have to wear a mask, but... just some sense of normalcy in life. Anyway, Trish, thank you so much again for the call in Buffalo. We appreciate that. Dana is next in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and a first-time caller. Hi, Dana. Welcome.
Hi, Dana.
Hi, Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Just fine.
Perfect. Excellent. So I am actually a healthcare worker. I'm a critical care physician, and wanted to just share a couple of things about masks. We work 12-hour shifts in the critical care unit, so we are asked to wear not one but two masks. And one of them is N95, which is very dense mask. It's really hard to breathe through this thing. And on top of everything, we wear a surgical mask. So quite a few of us had a skin breakdown on the nose because of those masks. They really pinch your nose. And I agree with Debbie and that there is a lot of misinformation that was circulating through the media. But at the same time, all of us who were frontline workers had really seen unspeakable tragedies that were evolving in front of us. I am the first one to tell you that it crossed my mind several times. Should I continue working during the pandemic and risk my own life, because I have two young children and there is nobody here to support them except me. And I just prayed. I really prayed, and I would get dressed for the work. I would put my hair cover and two masks, and I would say every day, okay, God, now it's you and me together, and let's get through our shift and help people. And that was really what got me through, and providing a comfort to people that were suffering, not just the patients that were incredibly sick and dying in front of us, but the comfort for their family members who really couldn't be there with their loved ones. Talking with them, sometimes several times in the middle of the night, people who couldn't sleep at home and say, how is my husband doing? Is he still breathing? Is he still okay? Just being there for everybody, I said, okay, that's what God wants me to do. I think it's a pure miracle that I personally didn't get COVID, because I was entering the rooms, I was treating the patients, I managed the care of those patients. And I think it was incredible gift from God that I didn't get the COVID and I didn't get the sick. But I can tell you, when I got my vaccine a couple of months ago, it was very emotional, because all the fear that I was carrying with me, and yet saying, I have to get through this, I have to help our patients, I have to help everybody that I come across, really dissipated and said, okay, God, just use me in your power to do what you want me to do in life. And it was just incredibly rewarding experience.
Wow, beautiful. Dana, thanks for calling. And thanks so much for your answering the call of God. It really is a vocation that you have chosen to be a critical care physician, so thank you. And what you're experiencing right now is what many people bravely sign up for. When someone becomes a police officer, he or she knows that the worst scenarios could present themselves. A firefighter could have to go into a burning building, and in your case, you are answering that call daily. Mm-hmm. You're saying yes. It's not just a single yes, not just one yes, but it's a yes every single day. And you're right. You've got those two little children that you need to be careful for on their sakes. But thanks be to God that you did not get sick during this whole time. It's really a miracle, I think.
It is a miracle.
Yeah,
it is a miracle. And Dana, I just wanted to say, your patients, they were so fortunate to encounter you because you're a prayerful medical professional, and then to add that spiritual component to it, that you prayed and you said, it's you and me, God, and you were going in there at that ministry. Your work is your work, but it took on a ministry form. And I just think, Dana, that you're the right person. You're the right person. And like Jerry said, it's super tough. But you were up for the challenge, and so God bless you, and all the frontline workers. God bless you all. We pray for you all the time. Thank you, Dana, so very much for this call. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We're talking about being tired and worn out this past year.
This is Montse Alvarado from EWTN News in Depth.
I'm Alan Holdren, EWTN Vatican Bureau Chief.
This is Tracy Sable from EWTN News Nightly.
Get trusted Catholic news every day on EWTN television and radio.
I'm Raymond Arroyo with Mother Angelica, A Remarkable Life. Throughout her life, Mother Angelica stressed her belief in redemptive suffering, that one could offer your suffering to God for the good of others. She learned that belief right here in the home of Rhoda Wise in Canton, Ohio. Now, Rita Rizzo, Mother Angelica, met Rhoda Wise when she was a girl, and she watched this mystic and great sufferer. Ms. Wise suffered the stigmata of Christ on the first Friday of every month, and hundreds of people would come here to be prayed over by her. There were many, many healings, and Rita began to appreciate the importance of suffering in one's life, and that it isn't always a bad thing. Stay with EWTN as we celebrate the life and legacy of Mother Angelica.
He was a Jesuit, a cardinal, and a doctor of the Church.
Matthew Bunson and the Doctors of the Church.
St. Robert Bellarmine is honored for his immense contributions to theology, including helping to draft two important catechisms that defended church teachings during the Protestant Revolt. Pope Clement VIII named Bellarmine a cardinal because, as the Pope put it, Bellarmine had not his equal for learning.
For more about the Doctors of the Church, visit doctorsofthechurch.com.
Tomorrow on More to Life, the life you were meant to live.
We'll look at how the theology of the body can help you live a more abundant life.
That's tomorrow on More to Life, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 Central on EWTN Radio.
We are so glad you're with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. You are the ones who make every show what it is, and we've got a great one underway here as we're talking about, are you tired, worn out, exhausted, sick of the whole thing? And it's not just the pandemic, but life in general can weigh us down and make us weary at times. But you throw this last year on top of things, and we just want to know if it's kind of taken a little bit of a toll on you, or maybe, like I said at the start of the show, maybe it's invigorated you, given you a new sense of purpose in life to help your fellow man and woman. So we can talk about any or all of these things at 833-288-3986.
Can I just share, if Dana's still listening? Dana, the texts are flying in saying how everybody's saying how much they love you, that again, your patients are so lucky to have you, and they're saying prayers around you and all the other frontline workers. So just wanted you to know that, Dana. Thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy day to share a call with us.
Okay, Rob has been holding patiently in Memphis, Tennessee, listening on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Rob. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
God bless y'all and your show. I listen daily to EWTN, to all the shows when I'm in the car. When I'm not in the car, then I miss a lot. But I just wanted to say that, first of all, I'm about to be 75. I'm still working. I'm in construction, so I'm out on construction sites. The far majority of construction site workers have not worn masks, at least in Memphis. So I've been exposed, been tested several times. But, this has not worn me out, other than the fact that I quit listening to the news because that was wearing me out. So I don't even listen to the only news I listen to now is EWTN. Because, first of all, on EWTN, the only news you get is the real news, the old Walter Cronkite news. And there's no political sway one way or the other. But I have had my in-laws in their late 80s, both got it. They survived. My daughter got it. My stepson got it, so on and so forth. So I've been around a number of people who have had it. I also lost a guy that was one of my Catholic mentors. 68 years old, perfect health, got it, gone. His wife got it at the same time. She's still alive. So these are things that, but, one of the blessings to that even was after he died and I thought about him, and every time he walked into a room, he exuded love, I realized where Bill is. I now have my own personal St. Bill. And there's a lot of stress to a lot of people over this, and I hate that. But every morning, I start every morning with the rosary, and my trust in God is total. If he's going to take me, he's going to take me. There's nothing I'm going to change about that. If he takes somebody else I love, then I just have to deal with that when it comes about. But to worry or to let it stress you out does nothing but give the devil a shot where he can get in. And so I have I've just, frankly, just given it up to God, the whole thing. And if it doesn't end for another 2 years, oh, well, that's what's going to happen, because I do believe it's a lot political what's going on. But if it ends tomorrow, then it ends tomorrow. But to trust in God and just leave it to him, and he's going to take care of it the way he's going to take care of it, and don't let the devil have a back door to get in on.
Well, Padre Pio, and you love saints, Padre Pio always said, pray, hope, and don't worry, because worry is useless. God is merciful and will hear your prayers. And so, here that's coming from a great saint as Padre Pio. And so I think that's a good reminder to all of us, Rob. And the other thing about it, too, is, sometimes people will say, well, oh, that sounds good, not to worry and to just, get on with your life. But, what does that mean? You don't care? Well, that doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you're not going to act responsibly. Okay. It just means that you're choosing to make trust in God paramount. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing in all things, not just with the pandemic. And I've often said this. I think the pandemic has really made people practice trust in God, which can be a good thing for our spiritual lives. So I'm with you on that part, Rob, because I think we do need more trust in God, and hopefully people will carry that past the pandemic, not just like when 9/11 happened and everybody, was falling on their knees and filling churches and pleading and begging God and loving God and trusting God, and then 6 months later, when the coast was clear, the churches emptied again. Let's hope it continues, that people have a real interior conversion experience, and an enlightenment of sorts. So I'm with you on that part, Rob, as well. What do you think, Jerry?
Well, agreed on all of those, and I'm with you, Rob, on the shutting off of the media. I mean, I think when this all started to happen, there was a certain fascination, I'll admit to that myself, in wanting to, watch as much news as possible and see what was happening, where this all was going. But it's long past the point now where I watch virtually no TV news and not much other than some EWTN programs on TV. So I'm really with you on that. And we're sorry about the loss of your friend Bill. And Debbie, I actually
put him in the book.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anything else, Rob? What do you think?
Just maybe he's the patron saint for COVID. I don't know, but just pray to St. Bill, because I know where he is. The day after he died, I was talking to a good friend. He said, "What was the one thing about Bill that really stuck out in your mind?" And I hadn't thought about it before, and didn't take but a split second that it came out. I said, every time he walked into a room, he exuded love. And what did Christ tell us to do?
Love. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, I think that's all we can do. All we can do is be positive and keep on going. And if it goes backwards on us now and then, it goes backwards. So you just deal with it and keep on going.
That's right. Thank you, Rob. Great phone call. Thanks for participating in the conversation today. Don't be a stranger. Call us again whenever there's another topic that you feel resonates within you. Thanks, Rob, very much. The number is 833-288-3986. The question today is, are you tired, worn out, even flat out exhausted from the last year? Maybe it's even more than the last year, but certainly there are a lot of reasons within the last 12 to 13 months or so for many people to feel kind of weary. 833-288-3986.
Okay, we're going to go to our friend Ron in Los Angeles. Hi, Ron.
Cock-a-doodle-doo, rainy days and Mondays, huh?
Yeah, right.
Ron, you crack me up, I'll tell you. I know you're tired because you send us text messages that say you're getting worn out, but you are hilarious. You got a great sense of humor, and I think that's what keeps you going, Ron.
That and a league of prayer warriors like the two of you definitely feel fit for this topic, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Dealing with various disabilities that are just dragging me down a bit to deal with breathing issues due to the heart condition and some other stuff going on. Excuse me. One of the things I have found early on is for the last almost 7 years now, I've not been able to drive due to cardiac issues especially. So I've been basically housebound long before COVID kicked in, and kind of locked everybody else up when we were all told to do so. But I found myself going in a couple of different directions. I went into the so-called retail therapy, so I spent a lot more money than I should have in my lifetime. I suppose I've been one where on occasion my boredom would put me in a place to where the fork and the spoon were in my hands too often. But I do know that at times, like many, I did hear a lot of the early, news reports, and I don't do a lot of that anymore because of the depressiveness of some of that and the constant point of views and agendas that many of those public media centers do. So I spent a lot more time in Catholic television and radio to help keep me kind of on the straight line. And due to that and trying to stay close to prayers with my guardian angel, and a few extras due to the passing of my parents in the last couple of years, I found other relatives of both parents that have passed on. So in the last 2 to 3 years, I have probably a total of about 6 or 7 that have passed on due to age and infirmities of their own. I don't think anybody in the family had passed due to COVID. I've had some concerns about immediate family, my 2 sisters. One's now going into a lockdown of their own family household of about 6 that when everybody kind of consolidated after COVID kicked up some nuisance, they're now dealing with COVID within the household. Mm-hmm. The other sister who's closer to me in town has been through it. She's, up and about doing her thing. And it's possible with any connections I've had early on March last year, I could have easily had a piece of that myself. So, and knowing what I know about biology, I'm not one where I spend a lot of time in the mask. I haven't spent a lot of time in public. But I do know that if I don't keep a fresh mind, and given the circumstances that I deal with, including some of my failings that I've had to deal with, some of the demonic realm, which is, I guess someone would call it oppression issues, that I've had my moments where I've had some dark times, and some that have probably been near to what you, Jerry, have relayed in your past. So there's been parallels to that where I wanted to crawl into a hole and kind of bury myself out of all this. But every day that I wake up, I have to thank God for another day that I've got to live and try to get whatever it is He wants me to do it right. And then at the same time, trying to keep my head straight with the fact that I'm in a house on my own with very little backup in that sense. So I have to be very mindful about health issues and what I'm doing that could cause me to have a medical emergency and not have the easiest of times to get some help. So that, in a nutshell, is what I've had to deal with.
Yeah. Well, Ron, like you said, through text messages, we were able to stay in touch, on occasion. And you've been a great supporter of the show and a caller to the program. And for those who have heard you on the air before, Debbie and I are very familiar with many of the things you just mentioned that you deal with and have dealt with, and the loss of both of your parents. Perhaps not having the ability to be out and about as much as you might like is maybe a little bit of a blessing for you, because you're less exposed, if at all, to the coronavirus and to catching COVID-19. But our prayers are with you all the time. You know that. We assure you of that, and I think that you are using your sufferings and these challenges in the best possible way. Don't you think, Debbie? I mean, he's offering all of this. He's got a good attitude, good disposition about it, and certainly offering it all to God.
Absolutely. You believe in the power of prayer, Ron, and you staying close to your guardian angel and all your go-to saints around you. I mean, what more can we ask for when we tap into the heavenly realm? It brings us that added support and comfort that we need on this journey, and it is a journey. Sometimes the journey is easier. Sometimes it's a bit tough. Sometimes it's just grueling. It's a tough journey. But Ron, you're strong, and it shows, because you are running the good race, fighting the good fight, running the race, and that's a good thing. So Ron, God bless you. Thank you for gracing this conversation today. We definitely appreciate it.
Okay, Irene has been holding patiently as well in Bellevue, Ohio, listening on our friends at Annunciation Radio. Hi, Irene. Thanks for your patience and welcome.
Hi. Well, I'm 88 years old, and so many people are dying, and my kids a few of them are on opposite sides of my political, and some of them are already retired and having problems of their own. So, and our senior center didn't open up, even though the governor said we could do it, because somebody in the hierarchy of it, one of their sister-in-laws or brother-in-laws died. So, all the time there's somebody dying, or it's just bad, and our weather's not that great here. Near Lake Erie, we get a lot of cloudy weather, and a week ago we had 5 inches of snow. It didn't stay very long, but it was there.
Right. Well, Irene, we hear the kind of the heaviness in your voice of that this has really taken a toll, because like you said, if the weather keeps you indoors and you can't get around, if the centers aren't open and stuff like that, you can't get out there and socialize, and then you've got everything coming at inundating us on the news over and over again, then you've got family members on all sorts of sides, right? It's a lot to handle. But here's the good news, Irene. Here's the good news. I think you said you were 88 years young. I think you said that. Here's the good news.
Yes.
Yes, you have a lot of life experience, And if there's something that my mom, who just turned 90 on Saturday, she used to always say this, just try your hardest to live in the moment, enjoy each day, because it goes like a blink of the eye. She used to say to us all the time, close your eyes. And then she'd say, open your eyes. That's what a life is like. That's how fast it goes, because it just goes so fast. Yeah. And I say that to you, Irene, each and every day you're on this earth, it's a blessing. It's a blessing for all of us. Every day we get to wake up and stretch and breathe and move around, hopefully, if we can do that, then it's a blessing, and it's more time for us to interact with the mystical body of Christ and to do God's work here. Like Mother Angelica said, this is a training ground. So that's how I look at it, and I hope maybe that brings you a little bit of comfort today.
Yes, it does.
Very good. Well, Irene, if you've listened to the show before, I know you're not a first-time caller, but Debbie keeps a prayer book, where we write the names of living and deceased loved ones. And so we're going to add you as a beautiful soul who's still with us here on this earth. And if you have any names, you mentioned some people that or have died recently. If you have any people you would like us to pray for, if you're comfortable giving us their first name, we'll add them to that prayer book.
Okay. There is another Irene, and Sharon, and Patricia.
Got it.
But there's, I can't even think of them all, but.
Well, we'll put them in the book as just people that Irene asked us to pray for.
Family and friends.
Yeah, family and friends. And God will certainly know who they are, Irene. So bless your sweetheart, and thank you for calling us here on the program. We are so much appreciate that here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. A little bit later this afternoon at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, it's EWTN's Open Line with Father John Trigilio, one of the very smart and holy priests, and he has a lot of knowledge, and he answers your questions. Again, that's EWTN Open Line Monday this afternoon at 3 Eastern Time on many of these same EWTN stations with Father John Trigilio.
Look at Annunciation Radio Go. We got another one from Annunciation Radio. First-time caller, Brian from Willard, Ohio. Hi, Brian. Thanks for waiting and welcome.
Oh, hi. Yeah, actually, Bellevue, where Irene's from, just a town away from where I'm at here. So,
wow.
Nice.
But I'm a physician assistant, so I work at a family practice, so I see patients every day and order COVID tests. We were fortunate we were able to set up a telemedicine system right away, so reduced the exposure that we had in person with COVID, but definitely dealing a lot with it with the people and the family members and everyone who's been sick with it or passed away from it. So early on, when everything first started closing down, our numbers dropped so bad that I got furloughed for a week. So I used to record music as a hobby before I became a physician assistant, so 8-9 years ago. And so that's what I went back to. It's for me, I come to work, I'll deal with all the stress throughout the day, trying to help people get through it as best as I can. And then, we homeschooled our kids this year, so I go home and I'll teach a little class here or there. My wife does most of the work for that. But then after the kids are in bed, I'll go down to where I record music. It's kind of like walking through the wardrobe to get to Narnia, just away from reality. But I ended up recording an album basically based on these topics, just dealing with the stress and going through it, all with a Christ-centered approach to it there. And oddly enough, for such a time as this morning, I was just kind of praying, saying, God, how can I share this stuff? Because it would probably help somebody else out as much as it's been helping me. And then I was listening to the program on my lunch break, and that was the topic. So the album, you can hear it online on anybody that streams anything, but it's called Flicker in the Dusk. Like flicker is like a flickering light, and then dusk is at nighttime. And there's just a number of songs on there that deal with this topic, and then there's a very beautiful pro-life song that my kids help sing called Bloom on there too. And I just wanted to share that with people. That's what's helped me get through this.
That's beautiful. Yeah. So you're not only a physician's assistant, you're a talented musician, right? That's amazing.
try to.
Yeah, that is amazing. You know what, Brian? That's a good use of your other gifts. I think that's really wise. And it's interesting that you're saying this because I actually, so Jerry and I do a lot of life coaching, and we have standtalltoday.com, and you can get life coaching there. But we have a lot of our clients, they were wondering what to do with this kind of, excess energy, if you will, of feeling like, what can I do with all this? I'm trying to process everything. And so many of them are gifted, singers and artists and poets and all sorts of stuff. And so that we encourage them to utilize those gifts and to expand those gifts and maybe incorporate some, and that can also bring healing and hope for others. And it sounds like you did just that, Brian. Way to go. What do you think, Jer?
Well, yeah, it's when we opened the show, we said we didn't want this to be just a kind of a downer type of a program, but if people have found, ways of being creative in helping other people during this entire pandemic and the stresses that we have all gone through over the last year, I know a lot of people have done amazing, creative and helpful things. And Brian, I hope and pray that this is a blessing to all of those who hear it. And we really appreciate you listening, especially on your lunch break. We kind of call the lunch bunch. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks, Brian, for the
Thanks,
call. We
Brian.
appreciate that. I want to get to Catherine real quick in Stuart, Florida, listening on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Catherine. We got about 2 minutes.
Oh, hi. Well, all I wanted to say was about 2 years ago on St. Patrick's Day, my parents were living in independent living, and my husband and I had a home nearby, and none of us made the decision. It just kind of happened that God blessed us. And we decided to convert 2 of our bedrooms into an apartment. So we got the apartment built, right, and my parents moved in right before the COVID hit. And so we were able to spend this last year with my 91-year-old parents, now 91, living with us instead of being locked up and isolated in the independent living. And I just feel for all of their friends and all of my other relatives and the people who have family members who are in the independent or the assisted living that they couldn't see their family over the last year. But we were just blessed by God, and we pray for all of the people who still have family in facilities, but that's hard to visit.
Yeah. That's beautiful, Catherine. I'm one of those families that has my mom in a care facility. My mom is in a care facility and was on lockdown and all that. It was horrible, absolutely horrible. So you definitely. Yeah, you definitely are blessed. How providential was that you turned those into, apartments, if you will, and then now you had your parents under one roof. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. You are blessed, but that's so God. That's how God, helps to plan things out when we're open, and we never know what we're going to use those things for. But look how it turned out in your case. Way to go, Catherine. I'm glad you had your folks with you.
Yeah, and thank you for your sensitivity and your prayers for those who weren't as fortunate as you, Catherine, because a lot of people, this was one of the biggest heartaches for me, Debbie, was during this whole thing, was to see family, especially, husbands and wives, separated, not able to visit each other. All of this, looking at people through the glass and sort of touching hands with somebody
with masks
through,
on.
through the glass, So let us hope and pray that families who have suffered so greatly during this pandemic will be reunited or won't have to have those same restrictions on them for very much longer.
Right. Great show today. I think we learned a lot. So thank you so much. Full participation twice. You filled up the phone lines twice. Way to go. Take 2. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about habits that we like, that we really like, that we do, and we are those kinds of habits. We like those. And then we're going to talk about habits that we want to get rid of. I got a lot of those.
I don't have any. So I'll just you can do the show by yourself tomorrow. So that's it. That's for tomorrow. A habit that you would like to keep, and one. If there's any kind of a habit you would like to drop, if you could, and of course we can work on those things in our lives. So, thanks to the show team. We had Jeff producing and doing social media today. Ryan Penning on the phones. Thank you, affiliates. And until tomorrow, have a beautiful and blessed day. St. Joseph, pray for us.
You've heard of the